Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. Get up, get up. Yo, 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 yo. Yo, yo, yo. Get up, get, yo, yo, yo. Yo, 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 yo. Get up. Yo, yo, yo.
There's a whole lot of scary cumbia already out there, especially that cumbia rebajada stuff that intentionally slowed down, chopped and screwed evil cumbia shit. But Los Thuthanaca, the Crampton I'm gonna mispronounce it. Hold on. Chiquimamani Condori. The Chiquimamani Condori siblings of Los Thuthanaca. They're bringing that level of experimentalism in the cumbia to strange new heights. And as we can see in the chat already, interesting discussions being made surrounding this question of an unmastered record, which I think some people are taking that as meaning the literal act of sending it to a mastering engineer for final levels for home listening, which I don't believe that they did. No, I believe that was not done that way. But what we can hear here as well is the through the home mastering process, an attention to hard clipping rather than soft clipping. But I don't know if the conversation in the main discourse ever got that far as what constitutes mastering versus not mastering in the case of this music. I think more so it's people are just impressed with this just out of nowhere bizarre self-release without any promo or PR whatsoever. The Condoris have done various projects of their own to some acclaim, so they got some draw coming in, but this new sort of collaborative project between the two of them is a genuine success story of the internet, through self-release and self-distro, CDR, right? CDR, Bandcamp, stuff like that. Pretty cool stuff happening there. And yes, it's hard clipped. It sounds like a fucking brick wall being punched through 110%, 120% output on there. So it's certainly, it has its own charm as a production style for sure. Intentionally so. Let's be real. People seemingly talking about how it sounds like shit, like they need it mastered so it doesn't sound like this, and I think that's silly. I think they know exactly what they're doing by brick walling it. Curious the actual process here. We did hear some of those Yamaha keyboard samples, DJ, things like that. Fantastic set of just love cumbia, just like deeply, inherently psychedelic, droned out, minimalist jam music that is universal. It is pan-Latino. It probably has hegemonic control over like the top subgenre of pan-Latino music and rhythm at its root. The cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. Once you hear it, Texans know what I'm talking about. Dominicans, Puerto Ricans know what I'm talking about. Mexicans, obviously. Colombians. It's fucking all over, dog. All right, welcome. Starting a little discourse on the cumbia to get us going. Welcome to Group Critique. It's your boy Max Paritsky. Thanks to everybody who came out on Saturday to the Cistern open house here in Poughkeepsie. We had over 800 people throughout the day. We had to turn people away at the end in the fucking rain, hearing basically 12-minute sets from 20 different artists throughout every 20 minutes. Really an ambitious project that I was happy to have been a part of as a co-curator and sort of run of show producer and MC of things. You could, if anyone was there, they heard me yelling at folks, telling them what's going on. Yeah, 800 fucking people, man. It was fucking wild. Really, the most I've seen at a public event in Poughkeepsie. I mean, scattered across over 8 hours, not all at once. We could only let 40 people in at a time legally. So it was, it was a marathon, but it was a wonderful time. And yeah, not all of those 800 people ended up being able to come in. I think we had to turn away like 100 of them just because the public permit was up. So this was a one-time activation, 12-hour public permit. There's still a lot of work and funding that needs to go into bringing that space up to sort of permanent permit status for public usage. But I think, if anything, this proof of concept and the documentation of it will be a good way to justify some of these funds in the long run. So hopefully we'll be able to do more. Hopefully we'll be able to have workshops down there. I really want to do a field recording field trip down there with folks where we can bring our recorders and some gear and just kind of like enjoy 15 seconds of reverb. Plus the humming, the actual resonance, when you find the sort of like resonant frequency of the space, this like low A-ish sound, and you could sustain that with your instrument. Like we had some upright bassists performing, and when you find that, like the room sings, it's fucking crazy. I thought it was feedback from the speakers, just hearing this and it was this 300 by 150 meter cistern just singing. It was really incredible and moving, and calling it post-industrial archaeoacoustics. We know the term post-industrial applies to most of America at this point, and archaeoacoustics, which is the combining both archaeology and architecture relations to music, but acoustics, but specifically the archaeology side of it, of dated spaces being explored, not contemporary or of recent, immediate past sort of architecture, but subterranean even in this case. And there's yada yada yada, fun way of saying there's plenty of reverb cathedrals all over the fucking world, in places you might not expect. So encourage you all to go find them. Maybe not, you don't have a massive cistern in your town, but you might have a cool tunnel, you might have an abandoned warehouse, things like that. But listen deeply. This is where the term deep listening comes from, was Pauline Oliveros getting the deep listening band, but it wasn't called that at the time, to perform and record in the Fort Worden cistern in Washington State. And through that recording process, she coined the term deep listening, reflecting on that in her writing. So it's in layman's terms, it's a way of approaching slower, often improvised music in activated acoustic environments, let's say. And there's many ways in which a space can be activated like that. And we got one here in the Hudson Valley, so hopefully we'll be able to do more. It's a huge one in Houston for anyone in the South or in Texas to check out. They do open hourly visits. You can go like a museum and just bring your field recorder down there. I'll find the name of it in Houston. Someone do that for me. Look up the Houston Cistern. You'll be able to find it. And then there's Fort Worden in Washington State, But this one is the biggest one on the East Coast, so that's pretty fucking cool. So then again, sorry, rambling here, but thank you to anybody who's watching this now or watching it, listening to it later, who came out. I hope you had a good time. Okay. On with the show. Reminder, you have a monthly project due in 2 weeks. Yeah, in 2 weeks on the 25th. We We got Wendy Eisenberg coming in, come through, and you shall go and participate. It'll be fun. I've already read the prompt multiple times on the stream. Not going to do it again. Go find it on the Discord. You know the drill. That is due at 7 p.m. in 2 weeks. Exactly 2 weeks. Okay. No more housekeeping. What do we have first on our agenda? We have... Looks like we got a bunch of tracks. Definitely get into 5 of them. Don't know if we'll be able to get to all 8 today, or 7 or 8, but we'll see. We shall see. All right, we got a track from Condard. Ooh, what do we got? What do we got? Mainly interested in clarity of mix, considering adding more vocal ad-libs for certain words or end of lines for emphasis, but I'm open to other feedback as well. I've stemmed out, context for Condard, anyone who hasn't heard his work. Live Game Boy LSDJ, that's the software, right? I forget. Live Game Boy artist, tracker software artist, and mods their own Game Boys. So I've stemmed out the 4 Game Boy tracks. Yes, LSDJ, cool. I've stemmed out 4 Game Boy tracks and did some EQ to the tracks separately and found that my vocal takes were similar enough to layer them for some texture. So I tried panning them and bit crushing them to give them a bit more grit in delivery under the main vocals. Oh yeah, we getting some nerdcore. We getting some verses on this, Condard. Before we start, I don't know if you saw Condard, but there's a cool plugin developer named Fors.fm, F-O-R-S, and they're working with a experimental Game Boy Advance game developer to make a tracker software for Game Boy Advance. So if you look up Fors, F-O-R-S.fm, you should find it, and it's new. I don't know how they're doing that, but it's a new software. So I'll find the name for it. If someone else can, by all means, tell me. But thought you should know that. You're the only Game Boy artist that I talk to on a somewhat regular basis as far as their music goes. All right. We got Dogs Down by Condard. Let's go.
Desired like a space heater in a warm room at arm's length, a closer connection? No thanks. A simple coexistence without being wanted. Like a little mushroom chilling in the forest, I flaunt it. Inner needs met, I reflect in context. Solemn silence in the let, undesired but no one's petting. Like a schizophilum, communist, tetrapolar mating set. I got thousands of genders, but a Nazi bitch I ain't yet. The fascists feel safe to bear their canine teeth. I bear them back, unafraid, and then I speak. My pronouns are they, them, if it's all the same. Their name is he, him, but the distinction remains. And that's my introduction. In short, I'm not him. That's my pronouns name, and theirs are they, them. Got him. Now I can feel your annoyance, and it's something that's tribal to your podcast sanctum of manosphere white survival. Clothing rationale you can't afford to reconcile, because reason is a verb and not a gossip juvenile. Fresh comprise the logic bits with empathy removed. Said aloud, they pop up proud and proves you're one of the dudes. Looking down on trans folk, seeing race like a menu. We pouch about women and what they won't consent to, and that's how you cope with your phobias. It's all simple and scope to you like the bad guy in a YA dystopia. But there could be hope for ya. We're going on a field trip, we're roping the concept of empathy opia. It packs a punch and it might seem all scary if your knowledge of emotions is just the dictionary. See, way back when Captain Crunch was oops all berries, the message on those channels was, boy, don't be a fairy. To feel your feelings was taught to be a weakness, and geek shit for boys made them freaks lest they peak this. It wasn't new then, today it's by the same token. The Hulk Hogan to Joe Rogan, pipelines are broken. To those younger than the serial ad hailstorm, it seems Paw Patrol normalized fascist mutts in uniform. That Peter got a hard on for the way I'm setting up on these clowns. I'm like a non-profit bet the way I'm putting these dogs down. I'm like a non-profit bet the way I'm putting these dogs down.
Jeez Jesus.
So I'm hitting with words instead of sticks and stones. You're not an NPC drone, so can you hear the message is toned? I'm hitting with words instead of sticks and stones. You're not a drone. Can you hear the message is toned? You're the reason you're alone, but I'll throw you a bone. You're not a drone, so can you hear the message is toned? No matter what I say, it's like I'm talking to a stone. I guess no one's home. I'll leave a message at the tone. Ah, shit. Well, maybe not. But what I would have said. When asked to step up, you started stepping like gooses. Instead of choosing to be silly or licking boost for abuses. Lose the armband and clipping your wings and purge the toxins. Turn loose on the oppressor, peace was never an option. As a younger man, I had shit opinions for my preachers, but a helpful father figure challenged me like a teacher. No hate for your bitterness, it's conditioned weakness, but it's something to let die, not rely on or let compete. And there's no man in your life called the anger out as grievance, then they called you weak, so you take their answers as relief. When sometimes you need to bargain, accept or just refrain. Feel the sadness bottled up before you hash it out again. See, I believe in love of my enemies outright for a reason, so you can battle your own soul instead of me kicking your teeth in. I call my friends girlies if they're Mr. and Ancillary. My girlies love their neighbors trans, cis or non-binary. I said I call my friends girlies if they're Mr. and Ancillary. My girlies and their neighbors trans, cis or non-binary. So I'm hitting with words instead of sticks and stones. You're not a drone, so can you hear the message's tone? You said I'm hitting with words instead of sticks and stones. Man, you're grown. Can you hear the message's tone? You're the reason you're alone, but I'll throw you a bone. You're not a drone, so can you hear the message's tone? All the hits will split a fool from his self-made throne. It's just a wellness check to see if there's a wise man home. Knock, knock. It's Condard. Alright, let's wrap this up. Replace your daily thoughts on the cruelty of the Romans. Find answers to your problems without making them a woman's alpha male nonsense. Support systemic violence. Claim their views are science, but it's not so reliant. Do you really not see just how wicked it is to wish extermination of the world's differences? Maybe you aren't the one to start the war or pull the trigger, to let your bitterness get jacked by the root of something bigger. If people fell in line and just did what they're told, you think the world would be better in the image it promotes? Your God says let, but you all say should, declaring like toddlers that everything you want is good. You want that rush feeling when you face opposition. That's just attention. It goes away if you still can't listen, cause you're still you, simply for podcast views. Venting contempt for others, but once again you're still you. Look today, if you had that world you wish to create, how do you think you would act differently to love it in that state? I mean, all you've done is act a cop, complain and feed your doubts. Where would all that anger go when it's all you've been about? And what would you change and let others be who they are? You wouldn't, you can't, you've never thought that far. You're becoming your own doom, it's already here. You're three fears in a trench coat that can't change gears. So I'm hitting with words instead of sticks and stones, but no one's home. Are you asleep inside your flesh and bone? I said I'm hitting with words instead of sticks and stones. Can you heat it, or do you only change with broken bones? A Percula won't say for grant a wish that you can't own. An easy way out where you don't have to reap what you've sown. I'm here with a megaphone, calling you a sad trombone, so you can find the stepping stone outside of your fear cyclone. Don't complain about the friend zone of the women who won't bone, blaming testosterone and being terrified of the unknown. Your child is thinking it's something that can be outgrown. Stop trying to atone, just take some time to grieve and be alone. Drop the lame ass fantasy of bleeding out in the snow, like somehow dying for being stupid will make you a hero. Grow up, you're being asked to care about your neighbor. Seem to do anything but therapy just so you can stay a hater.
Yeah. Yeah. Give it up for Condard. Yo, definitely an improvement in the delivery. I remember last time we were discussing, you know, like tone of voice and the need to just be like bring energy the entire time, you know, and I think that especially with this one being a topic of a serious topic, you know what I mean? Like you're not talking about it's not a nerdcore subject musically here. It's dare I say a political song, you know? So it's like we have to believe what you're saying here from a delivery perspective. It can't feel scripted in that way, and it absolutely does. We do believe it. And the production is, again, like, you know, it's limited to the 8-bit, but it's fun. You know what I mean? Like, I think that like one thing just from like drum production here, and that like, you know, where the bit crushed sound is is decent and packs a punch, but I think that like we got to find ways to like have the snare cut through a bit, because like the white noise through Bit Crush for just the psh, you know what I mean? Like it's still it's present, but I mean like I think it needs to be more of like a ping. Like it's, if everything is like a shiny square wave or white noise wave, then like we need to use like resonance to bring out like the shine of that. Like if everything's already at a high frequency sort of range, like the things that need to cut through need to have an even brighter, even more present and saturated, even like harmonically saturated high end. I think that the you know, it blends, like especially at the beginning. Like it took me a second to be like, okay, like that's the snare, that's the kick, that's the hi-hat, you know, because it's obviously limited sort of a sound palette for these instruments purposely, you know, but that doesn't mean that like in post we can't like utilize like a filter freak, like the Soundtoys like sort of like envelope following filter plugin that sort of like moves with the harmonic range or moves with the decibel range, even with an envelope follower. Every time the snare happens, it like whoop, like it just like pings the resonance that much more. It goes up, you know, things like that. Yeah, finding ways to sort of like emphasize certain harmonic content in the low end and the rhythm section specifically, I think will like create that much more of a punch to it. From the perspective of the delivery, you gotta now, like, you have your tone of voice, now your rhythmic delivery, like you gotta be 100%, like maybe 95%, but you really gotta be tight. And you're very, very close, but there are still moments that feel like a little ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da, you know, like it's like everything is like you are quantized 90% of the time, and that final 10%, it's just like it sticks out a bit when those moments are a little yes, and exactly what Breath Play say, you should punch yourself in. It's very normal in hip hop and pop music to do, you know, 8 clicks of recording and then punch yourself in another 8 clicks and get it perfect. You know what I mean? It's very impressive here. This would be a 100% concert experience, no doubt. The way that you are delivering with this energy would carry the fucking MagCon. You would carry that shit up in front. You'd be even more energetic, in which case like the rhythmic dictation of it all doesn't need to be 100%. But this is the studio. You know what I mean? And in the studio, you have the ability to make it artificially tight, even if you aren't going to get it to that 110% tightness in a live setting. Doesn't matter. The studio is our pristine, shiny, polished object, you know? And 100%, like, decide how many... Go back and listen to this, because I wouldn't redo this. I would find moments that require a punch in, and I would say, how much lead up do I need in order to get to that moment to get it perfect? You know, do I need 1 measure, 2 measures? Do as much of a punch in as you can. I see people doing half measure punch ins when they're doing like raps that are just like faster than they could actually do. You're not doing that here. It's really just the rhythmic dictation. This is technical flow. You're not doing like halftime laid back. You know, it's not meant to have a sort of drag to it. Like, you are tight, you know, it's Daveed Diggs and clipping, you know what I mean? Like it is theatrical in that way. So it's gotta snap into grid. You know what I'm saying? So punch in vocals, find the moments, listen to it. You can tell just as well as we can when things are not at that like A to A+ range, you know? I don't want an A- from you in the studio. You know, you are absolutely allowed to be that loose live. No one expects any fucking... It's so hard to do this in one breath. It's very impressive that you're able to do that. You know what I mean? It's very impressive. We could hear the one take in this, or the long takes. I don't know if it's one take, but long cuts here. But it's okay to do smaller ones for the sake of refining the material to, really fucking, the floor is so clean I want to eat off of it. You know what I mean? Do it. Do it. Good fucking shit. And yeah, what Maya was saying, what Stay at Home Cousin said about at more ad-libs, more auxiliary vocals. I like the doubling here. I would like again, it's hard to create dynamic range when we're dealing with limited bricked out bit crushed synthesis. You know what I mean? So like we could use our voice and the layers of voices to create some build towards the end, a little bit of a, building up to a more climactic dynamic range. I'm not saying like quiet versus loud, but we could develop it slightly for the sake of the drama. This is theatrical. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Love it. That's what Young Thug is doing in that famous photo. Yes, that's right. He's annoying his engineer. Punch me in here. Punch me in here. All right, do that again. Grab that recording. Grab that take. Drag that in here. Grab these 2 words from this take. Punch it in to this bar right here. The world's your oyster. Technology can set you free. All right. Good stuff. Who do we got? We got Naranjan back. Welcome back. Okay, we got a new version of what we heard last week. Fiddled with it. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we continue on, I am so rude. I forgot to announce once again our sponsor, powering our live stream on Mondays. You know him. You love him. Tape Trade, ladies and gentlemen. Group Critique Fight Club's Mondays, presented by Tape Trade. Go ahead. TapeTrade.io. Link in bio or link in the show description after I post it for 2 weeks free. Ad free, no data mining, file sharing, sample playlists, press kits, you name it. An ethical alternative to Dropbox and Google Drive, if I do say so myself, and made by good people. Support them. TapeTrade.io. Shout outs to them. Okay. Niranjan. You said, fiddled with it a little more and took your advice on saturation, tried to apply it differently to parts. Been a fun exercise. The most conventional is the strings and the winds. The ARP has modulated big crushing on the side. The Johansson and Randall Dunn was a great reference point. Oh yeah, shout outs to the homie Randall. A great reference point for this, as both seem to gravitate towards orchestral instruments in their own unique ways. And to hear it being so saturated was nice. Oh yeah. The Mandy score is fucking like assault. I spent some time massaging the lead OBX and added some LFO mod to the filter and amplitude. Love GeForce OBX for being able to fade in the LFO effect and automate it on the per knob basis. For a detail-oriented guy like me, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, you can automate every knob of your synth. Touch automation, map it to a MIDI controller. You don't have to just point and click. Treat it like hardware, Barring my buddy adding guitar and or fretless bass parts to this to replace the woodwinds, the 4/4 rhythm isn't sitting as plucky as I intended it to be. This track is very close to finished. Might be able to catch the stream tonight too. Okay. Niranjan with Clarion version 6. Last time it was version 4. We've gone up 2 versions. All right, let's hit it. Beautiful. Absolutely lovely. I'm glad that the Randall Dunn reference for made an impact on you, because it is apparent as hell. This is a night and day difference in the mix. All of your impacts are impacting that much harder, and this is, like you said, you're working with sort of speculative film score styles here, or at least inspired by this sort of contemporary synth heavy film score stuff. But like, of all the mediums to be like focusing in visual music, I would say that a lot of film scores tend to it's okay to emphasize saturation, and it's okay to lay into the quote like epic sort of sound of like a boom, you know what I mean, like impact noises that are, we just, by virtue of film, in the last 20 years of film sound at least, we associate these sort of hits of percussion and stuff with cinematic impact, like something happening violently on screen, or just like like a incredibly dramatic moment that requires like a thud. And remember that like films are mixed for 5.1 Dolby surround sound, emphasis on the 0.1 meaning the subwoofer, you know what I mean? Like, this is, compared to even other subgenres of electronic music, this is acousmatic stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this is stuff that's meant to be heard on a full range sound system, from subs all the way up to tweeters, you know what I mean? And in multiple channels, And I know that this is a stereo rendering of something like that, but it's something to think about here in relation to some of the other stuff that we've talked about in tape music and electronic music history about acousmatic music and writing music for sound systems, whether it be early electroacoustic music all the way up through music to be DJ'd in the club, right? And I think film scoring is not an exception to this sort of history and traditions of composing and mixing music specifically. Not that it will ever be played on acoustic instruments or meant to be heard on a small sort of speaker, you know what I mean? Like, that is why like a lot of like real like cinephiles out there, it's like, that classic clip of David Lynch be like, why the fuck would you watch a movie on your phone? You don't capture any of that shit. And I do agree with that. I'll watch some short form video on my phone, but not a movie, not a show, nothing like that. And you can make the argument that like a home, having a TV, watching movies on a TV, is not doing it much justice either. Though we can't all afford to go to the cinema every fucking day, but it does beg this question of like, like listening to music casually, passively versus actively, whether it be like with a nice set of headphones or with like a hi-fi at home, or in a decent venue with a serious sound system, or a club or a listening bar that has a serious sound system. It's like, what is like the ideal setting for XYZ style of music? And it's something for us to think about consciously with our own work, as well as like where we interact with music to begin with. And so for this, it's like, this is sounding like you are really mixing it for that experience of a proper theatrical sound system of sorts. The acousmatic music is cinema for the ears. This is just cinema that includes music, speculative cinema as of now. I'm curious. Sorry, forgot your name already. Fuck. Sorry, Niranjan. I'm curious. What do you have themes in mind on previous films? Like, in the previous times I've done some film scoring, it's always in reference to not just other composers, but like films themselves that reminding, like thematically inspiring me to compose something musical, and I'm curious like where your head is at with this, because we're hearing this, sort of field recording of rain on a tin roof, which is very nice, sort of percussive, ambience or atmosphere to the beginning and end of this, which is quite nice. Man after my own heart, starting and ending softly with the field recording. But I'm curious, we talked about influence of composers, but I'm thinking now about like story, like what are we supposed to be imagining here? Is there something literal in your mind? We can obviously interpret it ourselves, but I always like to know, especially in the context of this sort of speculative film score stuff, like what do you imagine this accompanying musically? Let us know. Let us know back on the Discord. I don't think you're here live right now, but hopefully you listen to it later, and let us know. Good stuff. Thank you, Niranjan. Okay. Emil Haller, they have written to us. I found 40 gigabytes of old radio shows on archive.org, and I've been using them as scratch, quote, vocals. I tried shifting the mood from obscure to weirdly peaceful and back to eerie, trying to create an ambiguous mood contrasting a crime show against some quiet guitar. I found my songs a little boring in the past, when I just layered additional guitar melodies over one loop every 8 bars. So this time I tried removing more parts at once and building new melodies from single remaining elements. I would love some feedback on how to mess with these kinds of voice samples beyond just the usual reverb and delay. Also, does anyone have tips on where to find interesting audio like interviews and speeches? I really like the samples on Providence from Godspeed You Black Emperor. But do you think the end of the world is coming? The preacher man says it's the end of time. Says America's rivers are running dry. Yeah, Blaze Bailey Finnegan III, the schizophrenic man that was used on like 3 separate Godspeed You Black Emperor pieces. I believe they did that interview in New York. I don't know who. I think it was Moya, member of Godspeed, just did that interview, man on the street style. Very famously, both in the piece Providence, but also in the track BBF3, Blaze Bailey Finnegan III, in which he discusses all of the guns that he owns, and then he recites Iron Maiden lyrics and says they're his own original poem. So, interesting guy. And yes, I do understand what you're saying. I mean, talk about cinema for the eyes. Cinema for the ears. As a post-rock band, Godspeed utilizes the field recording and the found sound spoken word interview and news clippings and things like that to quite literally storytell in that case. So cool influence there. Sounds like you're already doing some stuff on archive.org. I don't think there's one place necessarily for that, or you could do the burial method and just go on YouTube. Like, there's still like deep YouTube. Go into like the new video category of YouTube, because there's like thousands uploaded every second, and the majority of which is someone's home video for no one to see, but they've posted it publicly. You never know what you'll find. Burial has often found some good vocals, covers of other artists that he uses as vocal samples in his stuff. So YouTube always, if you don't care about the fidelity of things, YouTube is a very busy resource. You're right. I am looking for longer religious themed stuff and similar stuff. Yes, exactly. Go scout YouTube. Exactly. Also, if anyone has tips for handling mood shifts in the mix or arrangement, that would be interesting. Okay. 10,000 in Cash by Emil Haller. Let's get to it.
Wait a minute. Have you heard the Whistler?
No, don't come near me. I didn't plan to kill you, no.
That was John Hendricks. He waited for a chance to sell his soul to the devil.
Money is not enough, child. Money is not enough. We want you, child. We want you.
That was his wife, Martha, the former widow Martha.
Yes.
And her simple-minded son, Henry.
Go ahead, son. Go ahead. We must have John Hendricks. Yes, Mother. Yes, Mother.
I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak. And so I tell you tonight the strange story of retribution. Gaze up this muddy rain-splattered road. A small, lonely stone building appears against the lightning streaked sky. The dismal courthouse of a southern village. The village of Marsdenburg. It is nearly midnight. A trial is in progress. A murder trial. John Hendricks is on trial for his life. The state versus Hendricks. Killed his wife. He killed his wife and her simple-minded son Henry for the $10,000 in cash she kept in her big house on the outskirts of town. Open the door. A huge, silent man with large, bony hands. Close the door. Well, what do you think? Does he look like a murderer? The prosecutor is closing his argument.
Listen, jury. It has been proven that Mrs. Hendricks had no current bank account. It has been proven that she did have a large sum of money which she kept on her estate. John Hendricks knew of this money and attempted to steal it, was caught in the act, and killed them both in order to cover up the debt. It was not a tramp who killed that old gray-haired lady and her simple son. There was only one intruder, one thief, one murderer. And there he sits, ladies and gentlemen. There he sits in all his guilt, a vicious killer, a murderer. There is only one fight. There is only one penalty that can erase from this countryside the stigma of this fiendish crime. One penalty for this axe-murderer, John Hendricks. And that penalty is death.
All right. Very good stuff. Very good stuff from Emil. So look, I think this is tricky because we're hearing a story being told through the radio drama or through the movie clips or what we're hearing in the found sound itself. And the music, when we're dealing with that, we're creating a radio drama in and of itself here by virtue of scoring this storytelling in a way. And it's not like the found sound ever really goes away, you know? It's pretty constant, in which I have to just kind of follow it as a plot. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of just like listening to it as narration to some extent, or in the very least, like it's like you said, it's the vocals. It's taking on the lead role here. And so with that, I think that the music has to take its cues from the dramatic moments that happen in the spoken word sections. You know what I mean? It felt a little disconnected. It felt like the music came first, and then we're just dropping in this, you know, consistent sort of dialogue or spoken word monologue narration that's occurring, but it doesn't seem like a direct correlation, and it needs to be a more of a cause and effect, especially if you're referencing Godspeed. Not in the track at the beginning of Providence with a "Do You Believe the End of World Is Coming" clip, but with Blaze Bayley Finnegan from that same interview audio that they're using there. That piece is so dramatic, if anyone knows, just in relation to what he's saying here, right? Like everything from the, like, him like screaming at the judge about a parking ticket, and then he goes, "And I left it at that." Bah, bah. like it's like timed perfectly to meet the moment right when he says something, and the cadence sort of ends, that it just cues a dramatic bah in classic post-rock fashion, going from quiet to loud. You know what I mean? A sort of dynamic explosion, or just dynamism in general. These spikes in dynamics occur at very dramatic moments based on the placement of the tape. You know what I mean? Like the classic when he's talking about like all the assault rifles that he owns, and he's just listing them for 2 minutes straight. It's at this very quiet, just like do. Do you own any firearms? Yes, I do. Do. What do you own? Do. And it just like continues to like go on in this way that's like feels like very much like the music was written for a radio drama here. Like it lines up just, you know, surgically in that way. I think that's something that you should focus on here with the composition, is that like, if you want to use this much of the spoken word stuff, you got to make that like, you got to make all the dialogue clear. We need to know the story that's being told. And you need your musical cues to sort of follow the cadence of the delivery of this, like the drama that's unfurling. You know what I mean? So speaking of dynamics here, this is a pretty loud piece from beginning to end, right? Even at the moment where it's just a guitar, dun, 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 that like, and your spoken word at those moments, like everything is getting bricked, is limited way too hard. This music requires quiet. This music, especially to create drama, we need you like let your peak here be the loudest point, and let it only room to go down. Do not get anything louder from here. You know what I mean? Like there are moments here that like drama is not just loud. It's often very quiet. You know what I mean? So we need in the very least, a yin and yang sort of symbiosis between big moments and small moments. And there aren't really any small moments in here right now. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not that your recordings, like your takes are loud necessarily. They just seem very compressed, very just like brought right up. Let them take a step back. You know what I mean? And, you know, with your voice, with your vocal recordings, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's cool to let it be a little more, you know, hidden in the mix, especially when you're doing these, you know, sort of tape delay, sort of abstract moments, right? Like when you bring everything back, like let everything have like -10 to -15 decibel headroom range, and then decide what to, like, you know, raise up first when things are supposed to get louder. You know what I mean? I think that this just needs like quieter, more intimate moments to, you know, deliver some of those more subtle moments in the story, you know? Andy says, another side of the coin is samples influencing arrangement and dynamics. Prince Paul on 3 Feet High and Rising. It's all over the place. Godspeed is the most just on full display. We are making a movie with these field recordings, you know what I mean? But it's all over the place. And it's like, yeah, like we gotta just think about it like it's not a needle drop. The music is the movie. The needle drop is the vocals, you know, is the spoken word samples, right? And they gotta be tasteful. They gotta just lock in. If it's gonna take its cue from the music, then you just gotta cut and place your samples in a way that matches dramatic changes to the music, you know, that you think matches the mood. And then like allow for quieter moments to contrast the louder moments in order to also double down on this drama, on these shifts. If you want something shocking to occur, that would be the time to raise it up. You know what I mean? But you got to start quieter to get there. You know what I'm saying? Breathplay says, I actually like that you're using performances rather than verite documents. I would recommend looking at Christian propaganda films from the 50s through 70s. Whoosh. Pastors like Estes Perkel and films like A Thief in the Night. Good balance of confident and polished and deranged. All right. Good call. For anybody looking for that polished and deranged 1-2 punch, I can only imagine. Yeah, good stuff though, and not an easy task. You know what I mean? Godspeed makes it look easy, and it's a great point of reference because they're masters at the usage of found sound and concrete and what's otherwise just instrumental guitar music, you know. It's but you know, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. You got to think thematic. You got to be a dramaturge to your own dramaturg. I don't know, hard G, soft G. You got to be a dramaturg to your you know, to your soundscape here. Especially when working with instrumental music paired with dialogue and monologue and things like that. Good stuff. Good. Okay. I think we're only going to do 5 today, and Cozy and Agus, we're going to get you first thing next week, if that's okay. Just because we're already at 8 o'clock and we got 2 more that I'm definitely going to get to, and I don't want to rush. And I also don't want to make everyone, you know, stay up super late and stuff. So if you're okay with that, I'm going to have you at the top of the queue. You're already in the month's playlist. So, all right, Breath Play. First 5 minutes of this Biosphere live recording versus Good Time by Owl City and Carly Rae Jepsen. Oh man. Of course it's ironic, and of course it's a joke, but that's not my only or even primary intent here. I'd like to know whether that comes across, or as a listener, or if as a listener the provocation is too blunt to read as anything deeper than impishness. I wonder if we're even going to hear the sample sources, or are they obscured beyond reason? Soon find out. Do the first 5 minutes. 7 of Wands. All right. Okie dokie, okie dokie. It's the first 5 minutes or so of this 12-ish minute banger we got going on here. Good stuff. Good stuff. I do not hear this as a novelty. I mean, granted, I don't know the exact song, the Owl City Owl City, Carly Rae Jepsen. Yes. I don't know that one personally. But I couldn't hear tell the good time part. I mean, I heard vocals coming through there, no doubt. But it wasn't like, even if I did know the exact reference here, I still wouldn't take this as just like novelty, like usage of it, trollishness or you know, the irony involved. I think like I'm hearing it as this dubbed out melodic phrasing here that like the heads will know. If you're trying to, you know, give a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to those, they will appreciate that. But it is not, to me, like a you know, egregious usage of the sample in which it like becomes a distraction from what's otherwise like a pretty nice dubbed out minimal sort of session we got going on here. I think it needs more bass, if anything else. Like I think that like you could like mix this in a way that's like not necessarily like doubling an octave lower or some dum 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 dum, but like it would be nice to have some heavier low end, a bit more kick. Right now it feels kind of like floor tom, tuned tom in that way. Be nice to like double up at a certain point. Maybe it does later on, but like a development of the low end where it's not just the tuned low end sine wavy sound, but then ultimately a you know, heavier, more noise based like kick drum, less 808 in that way. But no, just from your concern of like, does this have any sort of like provocation that's distracting in any way, or I don't think that. No. You're saying I'd like to know whether this comes across, or if the listener if this comes across, or if the listener as listener the provocation is too blunt to read as anything deeper than impishness. Neither. It's not abundantly clear, but it's also not like this bluntness that you're describing here. It sounds like a tasteful sample. You got a good ear. What can I say? You know, it's the secret third thing. You did something that sounds good, that just unironically just has an original sort of sound to it based on like your, you know, live mixing skills and your curatorial selection here. You're getting good at this. Like, what can I say? This is becoming a sound for you that you're, you know, kind of locking into here. So no, I don't think that there's any novelty to this. I don't think that to the average listener, they're going to hear this and think like, the reference here, the irony or whatever. I mean, I'm enjoying this, not even as a mix. Like, I'm hearing this as original music, you know, like what you're doing with it is making it uniquely yours. And it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a mashup. It doesn't feel like a remix of one versus the other. It feels like we've talked about concrete, you know, it feels like tape music through the lens of digital DJ software, just as a way of performing it. But otherwise it still has like this very much plunderphonic digital tape music approach to things, as its sort of grounding, you know, as its foundation. I think that's what's coming across here, if you ask me. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that. You wrote, the song is a Smash Mouth all-star of its time, a sort of madness rune if you were a teenager in 2012. Yeah, I was in my 20s at that point, and like towards the end of my bachelor's in avant-garde electroacoustic music. So like I was way too fucking cool for school, like in a dickish way, to pretend that even ironically I enjoyed stuff like that. If anything, it would only be like real hip hop shit that I would be down with, but I would scoff at that at the time, you know. Only the next year when I started dating, who later became my wife, did I get a little taste for appreciating the Poptimist era, at least on the surface level. I chilled out, okay? I chilled out, but no, I'm not as much of a scholar as Breathplay on this era of this abundant plastic pop music, ripe for the picking, ripe for the sampling. No, this is it's unironically good. What do you want me to say? I'm gonna listen to the rest of it in a bit. I would like some dynamic sort of development here, and I think that like just going heavier, going harder. That's what I was saying about like a doubling down on the kick, but also like saturate the low end, like from a mastering perspective. Like I'm talking like boosting low end in the EQ, but like multi-band compression, that shit, like really like gain stage and like soft clip the low end here, you know. Let us really believe the analogness to the dub, even though it's digital. You know what I mean? But no, I mean, I do not hear your concerns. They're not, they don't come across when I'm doing a blind listen. Hope that's a good thing. I hope that this is reassuring for you. It's all in your head, dog. Unless I'm the freak and everybody else feels you. I don't know. You tell me, chat. Chat. Who am I talking to? This mix will appear in Gemini season. Speaking of all in my head, there you go. There you go. Always bringing in, let's make it about our signs. Let's make it about astrology. Let's make it about the stars. Thank you, Breathplay. Looking forward to that Gemini mix. All right, we're going to do one more today. And then Cozy and Agus will start for us next week, I promise. I promise. Okay. Andy would like to get another ear to make sure this is cutting self-titled Saint Vincent E enough. All right. Well, once again, I'm probably not the best judge on this, but we're gonna give it a shot. Gonna give it a shot. Okay. Sanctify by Andy. Let's go.
Coming down hard. There's something I can't say. Can't be the sound. Got a postcard, a little clarity. Can't we be found? Watching all the planes go by and wishing one finally set free. To be unbound. Coming down hard, intensified breathing. Could be left drowned, profound. In the midst of holy war, your God and country's lesser shore. Not enough to get us sanctified, sanctified, don't you sanctify our love. Watching all the planes go by and wishing one of them was mine. It's enough to make you sanctify, oh, now sanctify, come on, sanctify my love. It's enough to make you sanctify, oh, now sanctify, come on, sanctify my love.
Nice. Very, very nice. And yes, I've heard this one. Yes, I've heard this one. We need the chat to chime in here. Andy asking, this is sort of hit on the album, so I am all for suggestions to make it disgustingly poppy, or at least Franz Ferdinand era pop. They write, chat, do we think the vocals are too upfront and dry here? Breathplay says, no, the vocals are perfect. Cosmias, I like them. Maybe a bit of extra reverb. Micro tweak a couple of the mic pops on the hard consonants and you're good. Oh, and that bridge should have some gang vocals. Yes, I do agree on the gang vocals idea of it does feel singular. Otherwise, like, it's such a dense production instrumentally, carries itself. It's got a nice dynamic range to it, very big moments when it happens, you know what I mean? But yeah, it does feel monophonic vocally, and even if the gang vocals are technically still monophonic, just doubles, triples, and quadruples, like, can't breathe, you know what I mean? Like, there should be those towards the end. Like, let the climactic chorus do what it needs to do, and and in traditional pop and rock mixing style of, like, getting louder towards the end, I think that, like, dynamically this kind of stays around this area the whole time, and, like, there are quieter moments, and then but it doesn't get past, like, its loudest point from the first verse, you know what I mean? It would be nice to, like, create in the vocals that growth specifically. I know it's not, like, meant to be like a song that has like real quiet intimate stuff. Like, this is the single. This is a pop song. You know what I mean? Compared to some of the other more experimental ones on this LP, for sure. Like, this is, and within 3 minutes and change, something like that. Almost 4 minutes going, you know what I mean? Like, you're setting yourself up for this to be the single, right? And so, like, vocals have to carry that ending, just to bring it over the finish line a bit, just because, like, there's so much happening instrumentally that you're doing that is, like, confident, you really know the voice of this project, and despite it being very eclectic instrumentally, like, I can really hear your vision in your arrangement and the production of the instruments themselves. You know what I mean? I feel like you have the most imposter syndrome with the voice, just as far as your questions goes, and this is great. This is great stuff. You know, there should be no imposter. You know what I mean? But like, we could take it to 100%. Like we can like, this energy is meant to elate us. You know what I mean? Like, we should have a euphoric pop ending, a triumphant pop sort of ending here. Stacking vocals is one way to do that. It doesn't make it disgustingly pop. I think it just makes it more by the book, that like we're adding more by the end for like the words that you want to get stuck in people's head. You know what I mean? And you got the earworms here. You know, I mean, like, you're, you know, this is what we're talking about, y'all. This would be a good one for the monthly project. You know what I mean? Strong harmony with strong melody. You have strong melody here. The earworm is here. You're saying, when we say stacking vocals, do you mean more like harmony takes? Yeah, if you want disgustingly, yeah, I agree with breath play. If you want disgustingly poppy, do harmonies. But gang vocals means unison. Yes, gang vocals just means like yelling the part, multiple parts, like a full gang of people. Get your friends if you want, but do it yourself 8 times over, imperfectly, like you're 8 Andys drunk at a bar, singing the same, you know, like the imperfection of 8 of you just kind of like loosely doing it. Yes, it emulates the crowd singing along, absolutely. But it's, you know, true to form, punk, pop punk, ska, all sorts of things, all sorts of genres tend to use this sort of things. So yeah, it's really like aesthetically, like, if you're going for the poppy thing, I mean, personally, I don't think this should be pop vocals in that sense. I think the gang vocals will do what it needs to do, which is more on the rock side of the pop than like the like plastic pop star side of the pops, you know? And yeah, maybe like pitch shifting, maybe finding ways to like fuck with it. You know, cause Mia's is saying could do different formats on the vocals if no friends. No, I meant more like creating like artificial doubles, an octave up, an octave below, things like that as well, to thicken the octaves and the gang vocals further without actually doing harmonies while maintaining unison. You know what I mean? But more than that, I think it's like the energy of your voice is not like going for picture perfect, you know, auto-tuned, super refined, you know, this is romantic. There's drawl in your voice. There's vocal fry, you know, like there's a closeness here. So like, I don't know if expanding on that into harmonies of the vocals is going to maintain that. I don't know. This again is drama, like this, and I know your album. There's characters involved with this here, and right now, like I feel like we need to relate to that main character by the end, and I think that like gang vocals wanting us to sing along is the invitation, but it also like, you know, sort of reiterates the attitude we're going for here, you know. Franz Ferdinand, great reference here. St. Vincent, great reference here. But this is rock and roll. You know what I mean? This is attitude. I don't think it needs pristine, you know, poppy, super refined harmonies here. I think the gang vocals is the way to go. Saying, oh, do I have subtle layers of different formats? I could also record actual humans recreating that different format, melody, timbre to stack. I mean, either or. I would get other people. If you have access to 4 other people, ask them to record 2 takes of doing your melody in unison with you, and then stack it and send it from left to right in a nice little thick stereo image, wide stereo image. You know what I mean? That could work. If you got the people, I'll do it. Breath play will do it. Ask for volunteers. You'll get them. Seriously. Go into the Discord and ask. I ain't joking. Good stuff. Lovely. All right. We're going to call it here for this evening. Solid hour and a half-ish of stuff. Starting off fresh next week with Cozy and Aguz. Shout out once again to Tape Trade for the support, holding us down. Tapetrade.io. Check them out. 2 weeks free. Link in the description when I post it to the Patreon and podcast channel. And by the way, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I need the ratings. I need the listens on that. If you're listening to the audio version of this after the fact, subscribe to it on a podcast channel besides Spotify. I'm not on there. But anything else, get those run those numbers up a little bit. Most people seem to be listening to it just through the free feed on the Patreon, and that's fine. But I'd love to see those numbers elsewhere, because I do distribute this Monday night stream recorded onto all podcasts, including YouTube. If you want to just listen to it there, audio only, do that. But yeah, run them numbers up. And remember to do the monthly project. You got 2 weeks. And yeah, good stuff. Remember to sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/Parrotsky, to get access on Sundays as well as Mondays. Our Sunday Zoom edition, the OG edition. But if not, I will see you all in exactly a week here on the YouTube stream. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Stay productive. Work on your stuff. If anybody is going to be, anybody in North Carolina in a week and a half, Durham, I will be in residence on May 22nd and 23rd at Boom Club in Durham, North Carolina, opening for Kolobo, doing a live set on Friday the 22nd, and then doing a classic field recording field trip all day, 10 to 3 or 10 to 4 p.m. On Saturday, the next day. So if you are in the Durham, Raleigh-ish area in 2 weekends or 2 Fridays and Saturdays from now, please come through. Would love to see you there. My first time doing stuff in North Carolina. I'm looking forward to it. Boom Club, really cool. Shout outs to Boom Club, nonprofit music tech workshop space and venue, doing the right thing. We need synth labs in every fucking city. We need workshop. We need education and nightlife combined, yo. This is what we're talking about. I'm working on it. I'm working on my end too. Don't you worry. There will be developments on that soon. But shout outs to Boom Club in Durham for having me. If anyone's around there, go. I'll see you then. But if not, I'll see you on the interwebs next week. Hope everyone has a wonderful week. Take care. Bye-bye.